Hello and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. Yeah, it's still dark out there. Just the slightest little glimmer of daylight. This morning, Tuesday, August 30th, July 30th, getting things wrong. July 30th, 2019. Got August in my mind because that's when the Google Hangouts went in to be replaced by something maybe. Okay, we have from 1880 Windsor Canadian Windsor supremely smooth. That's what they say, and I'm not sure. I'm not convinced, but it's aged 3 years. It's 80 proof. It's a Beam-Suntory brand these days. And then we have from Sazerac. Now it was a different company. You know how that goes. Royal Canadian introduced in 1934. I suppose many Canadian whiskey brands have an intro date of 1933, 34, 35. And why is that? Because the prohibition, the ridiculous constitutional amendment that instituted prohibition, that's not the only constitutional amendment I'd like to see repealed. That one was repealed with the 21st Amendment. But so then United States of America is a big market for Canadian whiskey. So then you start seeing all these brands coming out like Calvert, which started as an American whiskey, then it became Canadian. But anyway, so then we get so many whiskey brands here, Canadian whiskey brands, that are not sold in the home country, the country of origin. Now, whether this is sold up there, I don't know. It's a Sazerac brand. So we've got, and that's 80 proof. Let's see. So we got product of Canada, telling you that once. Windsor Canadian, twice. Imported 3 times, because it's coming from somewhere else other than the United States. There's the crown and the 2 lines on the shield. Windsor Canadian, 4 times. Blended Canadian whiskey, 5. A supremely smooth whiskey made with waters born in the clear, clean Canadian, 6. Rockies, 6 times. Blended and distilled under strict supervision of the Canadian government, 7. So they're emphasizing the Canadian whiskey, but it says this whiskey is 3 years old and it's bottled actually in Deerfield, Illinois. So they're emphasizing Canada, 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 Canada. And they're very low profile, telling you it's bottled in the United States. Canadian Club as well. Now here we've got Royal Canadian 1, imported. That's 2. It's coming from somewhere else. Now if they sell that in Canada, it's not going to say imported. Well, it might be because it's imported back from the United States, but I doubt they would say that. But that's the weird thing about Canadian Club. It's made in Canada, sent down to Illinois, bottled, and then sent back to Canada, from what I understand. There's not 2 separate bottlings. Royal. And that might, I don't know if that has something to do with NAFTA, which is no longer in place, but it's being replaced by the TRAPTA, the Trump free trade, so-called, the free trade agreement. United States, what is it? Canada, United States of America, and Mexico trade agreement, something like that. CAM agreement. I don't know. I can't keep up with these things, but I mean, I guess I could. But the comical thing about that, they say it's free trade and it's like a 2,500 page document. Well, and there's all these restrictions and qualifications and exceptions, and there's still taxes on imports and exports. Well, if it's free trade, why would there be taxes and restrictions, right? So that's a bogus thing. It's managed trade. This is not a preaching video, but it's managed trade between the U.S., Canada, the U.S., and Mexico, not free. But it's It's how you frame things, right? It's how you frame things. But of course, that would almost really be a lie calling it free trade. But I haven't actually, come to think of it, heard Trump call it a free trade agreement. No, he just called it a trade agreement. And he said it was a wonderful, fabulous, the best ever, you know, typical Trump speaking. But I don't recall him saying it's a free trade agreement. So, okay, all right, can't say it's a lie. Did George W. Bush and Bill Clinton lie? Well, they said it was a free trade agreement. They approved it, got it passed. But then maybe they thought it was free trade. I don't know what their understanding would be. Anyway, distilled under supervision of the government of Canada, the government of the Dominion of Canada. See, this bottle's using the old terminology, Dominion of Canada. Now they'll just say Canada. I think the new bottles of Royal Canadian just say under the government of Canada. So this is an older bottle, looks new. It's in good shape. I just got a wet towel and wiped the dust off of it because it was covered with dust. Imported and bottled in the U.S. by Sazerac Company, Frankfort, Kentucky. So it's bottled at Buffalo Trace. So we got 2 Canadian whiskeys bottled in the USA. Bottled in the USA. Okay. Oh yeah, age statement. Don't see anything on here. There's no back label. It just says Sazerac. You know, got the Sazerac phone number like they have. Okay. Anyway, the minimum is 3 years. Talking about these, neither one of these say wood flavoring. Although I think the Windsor has some. I don't think the Royal Canadian does. Doesn't seem to be flavored with anything. Could be, but it's so low profile you don't pick it up. And when we say flavorings, we're not talking about pineapple flavor and blueberry flavor. We're talking about other distilled products and barrel aged wine. I think it has to be aged in small wood for 2 years, but I should have copied and pasted those regulations that I found. I could still give you some, but they're so general today. The current regulations don't say much. It just says, what does this say? The current regulations. The product has to be at least 75% Canadian derived. In other words, 75% of what's in the whiskey has to be from Canada. It can have caramel color added. Has to be aged at least 3 years in oak. Or did they just say wood? But you're going to use oak because it's been determined to be the optimum aging wood, storing wood. And that 9.09% rule isn't really much of a rule, and it's barely applicable. We won't get into that, but it's really not applicable. This one's darker than this one, okay? So this is amber. I don't know if you can see that. And this is golden. And isn't the Royal Canadian golden? No, it's the Windsor. Oh, okay. So that's interesting. I gotta be careful not to look down too much because could throw me off. I think I'd have to really look carefully though, like stare at it, see the color difference. But I don't want to mess it up. When you do these blind taste challenges, you're trying to factor out variables that can influence the challenge. Because what do we want in an experiment? We want it to be reliable. We want it to be valid. Valid. What does that mean, valid? John Womack says, hi. Hi, back to you. John Womack's in a lot of those hangout groups. I don't really join the hangouts too much, the actual hangouts, because I'm busy doing stuff. And you might say, well, watching a baseball game is not being busy. Well, it's busy doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just doing that. Okay. Blunt talks says, what is that? That is whiskey. Okay, from Canada. I'm saying something. Oh yeah, you want it to be valid. A valid experiment means it tests what it's supposed to be testing. You know what I mean? The conclusions reached are what you were looking to reach. So what am I trying to test? Well, simple. First thing is, can I tell them apart, one from the other? We'll see. My prediction is to be very difficult with these two. Secondly, does one taste better than the other? Now, that's an opinion, but the experiment would be like, does the subject find that one tastes better than the other? Price won't matter. Well, it will matter a little bit. Now that I think about it, because the Royal Canadian, the Royal was $8.99 and the Windsor was $10.99. So that's $2 difference. Okay, all right. I don't really think Royal Canadian sold around here anymore. I just found leftover bottles. Might have been sold here 10 years ago and then it faded. I found the 375. Remember, I used to have that one. I found that at Ali and Sons. They only had 2 bottles left. I got it for $5. So it was actually more expensive per ounce than this one. This one I got at Savannah Discount. No, Discount Depot, excuse me. Discount Depot. Discount Depot. And it was $8.99. They had 2 bottles left. My friend Dave was like, is it any good? I said, well, it's Canadian whiskey. And, I don't know how you feel about that. Because he had made some negative comments before about it, which is his right to do. You can more or less like what you like and dislike what you dislike, right? So he passed on it. But I bought it $8.99. It was dusty. I came home, wiped it off with a wet towel. Came out it was in really good shape. The bottle's in great shape. Will the Windsor be better? I don't even know if it's going to be better, first of all. And secondly, is it going to be $2 better? I would find that doubtful, but well, let's see. The second thing, is it reliable? Reliable means you replicate it again and again. If you do something once, it could just be an aberration, an anomaly, some strange event. If you keep doing it and you get the same results, then you could say that the experiment is valid, it's testing what you're trying to test, and it's reliable. You can count on it. We used to have to, when I taught psychology, I would make the students do their own experiment, not in real life, but like set it up. I wasn't too creative with coming up with these activities, but the textbook was very good. So it had an exercise where you would have to make your own experiment. And I would have to help them because they didn't know how to do it. And a lot of them would say, like, if I let people try this homemade cake, then they'll like it. Or no, or it'll be good. I said, you can't say that it'll be good because that doesn't mean anything. That it will be good means different things to different people. I said, you would have to say, the subjects would say that it tastes good to them. See? At a certain percentage, if you're predicting, like 90% of the time in testing. Oh, they'd say, oh, okay, and they'd redo it. And then 1 or 2 of them would go up to the front and they would tell them what their experiment was. I think one time a student wanted to know, could they actually do the experiment? I said, well, yeah, you could do it. They got like extra credit for actually carrying it out. Cole Carey says, I can't handle the hard stuff. Never could. I buy one of my brothers a bottle of Maker's Mark every Christmas. I think that C stands for. Cole Carey says birthday. Oh, every birthday. Hard liquor. I like to taste it. You know, I mean, I could live without it, honestly. Like if I suddenly never could drink it again, it wouldn't really matter to me. Now, some people watching would say, you lie, you're no alcoholic, you just want to drink all day, you know, you want to drink hard liquor. You can believe what you want. You can believe what you want. I'm not even going to try to convince you. You know, it's like I'm saying, I don't, it's your business, whatever you think. I like to taste them because they're kind of interesting to like put one against the other. And then I like reading about the history of the product and then getting on the website, if it's a good website, unlike these two here that aren't even listed. It'll tell you how they make it, and they have little stories like, Booker, no, we were in her. Well, let me tell you what happened. I started back here in 1948, and my pappy was helping me out. You know, those kind of stories. It's kind of nice. But to say I have some fixation on it, nah. I was thinking about that last night. I said, man, if I never had another rum, I wouldn't even care. On the other hand, I do like trying them and tasting them and doing the challenges. It's fun, you know. So whatever. I think I poured too much, but luckily these glasses are small. But haha. Woo! Grain. Think of cereal grain: wheat, barley, especially corn, maybe rye. So these are the grains. They're mainly using corn, but they also use barley, rye, wheat. And so it has that distilled grain smell. That makes sense, doesn't it? Yes. Is there anything else? Yeah, there's like sugar and a little light caramel, which is a type of sugar, burnt sugar. There's some other things in there, like a yeast component, even like a yeasty, like when people are making bread. Interesting. Now, some people can't stand the smell or the taste of whiskey. They just can't stand it. Well, hey, that doesn't make you bad. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Not a whole lot of aroma here compared to that one. Oh, you get the grain and a little sugary sweetness, candy. I always say whiskey smells and tastes like candy. It does, kind of. But it's just more, you hate to say blander. It's lower profile. Okay. Taste time. There is a lot of wood in that taste, a lot of it. Is it charred wood? Well, I wouldn't really say so. It's more like just toothpick wood. You say, but they use charred barrels. This is right. This is correct. But it could be a very thin layer of char. And secondly, these barrels could be 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, or even 80 years old or older than that. They use these barrels. I guess if they start leaking so bad or whatever, they reach a point they get rid of them, probably sell them. People make planters out of them. You know, people will cut them in half to plant stuff in them. I remember the Royal Canadian having that heavy wood taste. Now, when my daughter first tried it, she said, ugh. I said, you really hate it, huh? Then later in the review, she said, it's not really bad. It's just not what I'm used to tasting. She's used to bourbon. That's what I say about bourbon. It's not really bad. I just don't like that heavy corn taste. I'm real sensitive to, I think, Baseball Beer Reviews. I can't remember the name of his channel. Baseball Beer. Oh, I'll watch this. I just finished watching a video he made for Iron Maiden, the Trooper Ale by Robinson's Brewing, and he liked it a lot. And he said he's real sensitive to corn flavor, and I am too. So bourbon, 51% corn, it has to be at least 51%. It's probably a lot more than that. That's just the minimum. And it's got a very strong corn. And then when there's sour mash, there's even more corn. And then bagel, sourdough bagel. I don't know. I'm not in love with bourbon. You say, you're out. You no longer get respect in the whiskey community. You got to love bourbon, or you won't be well viewed in the whiskey drinking community. Well, that's okay. Maybe I'll have to get a taste for bourbon. Maybe if I drink more of it over the next 10 years, I'll start to like it more. I like scotch. I like scotch first time I tried it. This one is milder and it has a little flavoring taste. Like, well, it seems to have a sherry taste. Now I was reading an article about blended American whiskey, and that guy was slamming it. That's junk, you know, and going on and on. He's a Scottish guy, I think, or something. But okay, you know, they're cheap sometimes. You can go to Mathern's and Walmart, and some of them are $22 a bottle, blended whiskey, 80% neutral grain spirits. Not cheap. But that's kind of their regulations actually kind of strict. You read the U.S. government regulation for blended; it's pretty strict. I mean, yeah, it can be 80% grain neutral grain spirits, grain neutral spirits. You hear people say it both ways, even in written cases. But it can only have up to 2% flavoring, like blending sherry. I think they're specific blending sherry. They don't say anything else on the Tax and Trade Bureau website. Blending sherry, period. You say, is that why they all taste the same? No, American blended whiskeys do not all taste the same. You get some real wild flavors, and usually wild not meaning good. Wild meaning not good. But they got some jewels in there, you know, like Seagram 7 Crowns, one of the top selling whiskeys in the world. It's 75% grain spirits, neutral grain spirit. Used to be 66%. See, used to be 37% straight bourbon. I would assume bourbon. Then it dropped to 75. Will it ever drop to 80? I don't know. You say, how can it drop to 80 if the number's going up? Well, when I say drop to 80, I mean the percentage of straight bourbon is dropping from 37% down to 20. Now, what did the old 66 to 37 take? 37? 66 to 34. Ugh. 66 to 34. What did that taste like? Couldn't tell you. Never had it. But you know what? International market has got so many old Seagram 7 Crown bottles. And I mean old ones, look like they're from the early 2000s, maybe older. I'm going to go over there and check next time. And I'm going to look. And I'm going to look at the back. And if it says 66%, I'm on that. Because I want to see if it tastes different. Oh, yeah. Next time I'm in Metairie, Louisiana, that's where I'm going. Boy, I wish I had thought of that Saturday when I was passing right by that place. But yeah, back to this. I think there's a little flavoring in it. Tastes like maybe some gold rum and some blending sherry. It doesn't specify what type of wine. I don't even know if with the old Canadian regulation I read, didn't specify the type of wine, just say wine. Aged in small wood for 2 years. Now, it's just saying flavorings. Well, that can mean just about anything, but I'm telling you what it tastes like. Maybe some sherry and some gold rum. But it's just a little touch. It mostly tastes like whiskey. Oh, yeah, and they also say the Canadian whiskey must smell and taste like what is generally considered Canadian whiskey. The flavors and aromas generally associated with Canadian whiskey, whatever that means. Same thing with U.S. Bourbon. Must smell and taste like the aroma and flavor generally associated with bourbon. How you think that's going to go in court? But then on the other hand, why would you want to make a whiskey that didn't taste like whiskey? So you would make the customers angry and they bring it back to the store? You know, that wouldn't even make sense. That's sort of like a self-regulating requirement. I enjoyed Trooper as well. Solid beer, yeah. Now I saw that new one the other day, Saturday, and I said, I'm not paying $6.99. I'm not paying $6.99 for a 500 milliliter bottle. I'm just not. When they had the cans for $2.50 a can, the 500 milliliter cans, yeah, that was a deal. Or it might have been $2.88. Still was a deal. Like I said, I'll buy that. But it gets to a point where it's like, I'll just imagine how good it is. I don't know. That's a lot of beers you could try. You know, I'm not fixated on the Trooper or the other one, whatever it's called. I'm not worried about that. One day I might see it for a good price. Then I'll try it. Otherwise, I won't. I think this is Windsor. No, said it wrong. I think this is the Royal. This is Royal because it's so woody relative to that. I don't mean it's like super woody. It's like toothpick wood, which say, well, toothpick wood doesn't have much of a taste. You just pick your teeth with it. Right. Doesn't have much taste. And that's what we're dealing with here. So I say it's Royal. Now, which one tastes better, Royal or Windsor? I'm not making any funny faces though, like, ugh. Wait till I get to Heir to the Throne and Gibson's. Ooh, ouch. And I gave those good scores initially. Some of these things break down in challenge. When you do, if you only drink that whiskey in isolation, might be fine. But boy, you start putting it in competition, oh, the pain, the pain, the pain, the pain, the pain. You say, but no pain, no gain. Well, with those two, you're getting pain and no gain. Yeah, I think this wins with a little slight flavoring. So maybe, okay, maybe the Windsor tastes a little bit better. A little bit better. Does it taste $2 a bottle better? I don't know about that. No, I wouldn't pay $2 extra for the slightest little improvement. And I mean, it's so slight that it's questionable if that's even the case. So what we have is virtually a tie. Then if you want, you say, yeah, but $2, maybe it's a default winner, Royal Canadian. You could argue that way, I guess, but I'm still going to say it's a tie. It's $2, so it's however you want to balance it out. You know, you can't even get either one of these at Matherns. Winn-Dixie, I noticed yesterday only had 2 days. Yes, Sunday, 2 days ago. Only had the big bottles of Windsor Canadian now, the big jug bottles to handle. But they might have run out of the 750s. But I didn't see a tag. Also, I noticed they didn't have the Northern Lights anymore. The Northern Lights Canadian whiskey that they had been selling for $10.99 a bottle was $9.99 a bottle. $9.97 a bottle. That's what it was. $9.97. $9.79. $9.79. Maybe they cut it. Might have not been selling. Okay. Pepita Chip says, sup, Alcy. know a guy I work with named Alcé. Alcé. So here we go. I'm saying this is royal. It is. It is. It is. Okay, I got it right. Hey, I'm happy. Well, yeah, 30 minutes kind of long, but it does take a little while to nail these down. All right, so which one would I choose? I mean, I wouldn't actually run out and buy either one. I don't think either one is that terrific. They're okay. They're good. I guess in the B range, they're good. And they seem priced appropriately. So, okay. Sorry, I meant to Alcoy. You meant to Alcoy. Okay, Alcoy. All right, like a decoy. All right, anyway, thanks for watching this video production. And next one coming up, I think it's going to be, and it'll be a blowout, believe me, this will be a sad video to watch. It'll be Beam-Suntory versus Beam-Suntory, however. It's going to be Windsor Canadian getting destroyed by 12-year aged Canadian club. The Canadian club 12-year age. They've changed the label and the name actually over the years, but it has been on the market since 1984. The special edition Canadian club 12-year. That'll be a joke, but it won't last 30 minutes because it will take about 30 seconds to tell them apart, if that long. That'll be taking too long. Thanks again. And that's that.